Good morning, beautiful people. It's another beautiful Tuesday. We are back for another session, and today we are focusing on the impact driven organizations. I want us to talk about why every bite matters actually. One of the things that you need to know is that when your organization is one that is driven by purpose, whether it's a non-profit, whether it's a social enterprise, or just a mission-focused business, including a church. I'm going to use the word a church at this time. They may not be businesses, but they are still mission-focused. You need to understand that every decision matters. Every form, or as what I would call the byte of data within that organization carries weight. Members of your congregation, your donors, your staff members, employees, contractors, vendors, sensitive information, every form of data that you have, including financial records, actually carries a lot of weight. Now, based off of the fact that your organization is one that depends on trust, it depends on resilience, it also depends on your ability to be able to protect sensitive information from growing cyber threats. It's very important that you do not consider cybersecurity as just a technical necessity. It's very important that you make it what is called a critical enabler of your impact. So, our goal today is to explore those cybersecurity strategies that can help you protect your mission strategically. They can help you protect your mission strategically while helping you optimize your resources and ensuring that your organization's reputation does not falter. One of the biggest things, or should I use the word, the biggest assets that any mission driven organization has, any impact driven organization, your biggest asset is actually your reputation, because that is what brings in the resources. Now, I want you to think of your organization like a source of water. I think in a place like Africa, they would call it like a borehole, or like, I wouldn't want to call it a tap because it's bigger than that, like a reservoir, but not necessarily a reservoir, more like a deep source or supply of water. Now, that water is not just ordinary water, it is water that is like a miracle water, because it is meant for healing, it is meant to keep people safe. At the same time, it's the kind of water that is creating a lot of impact in people's lives, is supporting their health as well as their growth. Now, if you have that kind of water for your community, what would you do? What would you do? What you would want to do at that point in time is to ensure that all the pipes, all the reservoirs that are actually flowing from that source or into that source, there are no leakages, they are kept essential, and they are not replaceable. At the same time, you are making sure that the way and manner with which you are managing them is to ensure that there is what is called uninterrupted flow from that source. Because once the flow from the water, or in this case, I'm going to say the source, is interrupted, the benefits that you are getting can no longer be delivered safely, can no longer be delivered in a timely manner, and most importantly, it is going to be interrupted. Now, look at your cybersecurity initiatives in the same way. It is what is ensuring the growth as well as the thriving, the health of your mission based organization. So, if at any point in time there is what is called a fault, there is a leak, or there is something that can stop that supply from successfully pumping out whatever is going to allow the mission to be accomplished, the mission will not only be interrupted, but at the same time is going to cause a drastic a drastic, I'm going to use the word consequence. The consequences will be drastic. And when the consequences are drastic, at the end of the day, it causes a big problem for not only your organization, but also for the beneficiaries. Now, as a leader in that kind of organization, if you're the kind of organization that is like a food bank, you know that once you cannot access the whatever they are bringing in for you at that point in time, the information and the data that is coming in for you, it's going to be a bit hard for you to be able to give out food to people that are in need. If you are a church and you cannot access your resources at this point in time, I'm going to say your resources because it's not necessarily about the money. It's going to be difficult for you to meet up with the impact that you are having on the community, as well as not just your congregation, the community in general. Now, if you are a mission driven school or even a health based organization, you know that at the end of the day, it's going to cause a problem if you cannot meet with what you are supposed to be doing. It's going to be hard if you cannot meet up with what you are supposed to be doing. So, what we are going to be doing today is for us to learn what you can do to ensure that your mission is uninterrupted. As a leader, it's extremely important that you know what you need to do so that your mission is not interrupted. Now, the first thing that I need you to know and understand is that when it comes to cybersecurity initiatives, you don't necessarily need a big budget. That's one of the first things I want you to put into consideration. So many people make the mistake of believing that cybersecurity initiatives can be expensive. Yes, they can be, but at the same time, you need to understand that there are some features, some offerings, some services that will help you as a mission driven organization to be able to fulfill your needs without a big expense. I'm going to use the word without a big budget. What you just need is what is referred to as a well orchestrated plan. You need a well orchestrated plan. Now, the second thing I want you to understand is that for your mission to be successful, it is extremely important that you align your cybersecurity initiatives with your organization's missions. What does this mean? Whatever you are doing within your organization, you need to tally it with your cybersecurity initiatives. You need to prioritize your cybersecurity measures so that they are not only protecting your critical data, but at the same time, they have impact on the systems as well as data and resources that are essential to your impact. I'm going to say that again. You need to prioritize your cybersecurity initiatives so that they are not only protecting the critical data, but also the systems that are essential to the impact of whatever your organization is doing. Now, the reason why this is important is because as a mission-based organization, as impact-driven organizations, resources are one of the places where you lack. Resources are one of the places where there is I'm going to use the word a loophole. So one of the things I'm going to advise that you do is that I know a lot of us are actually using volunteers in order to be able to meet up with the demands. But the truth of the matter is, even when you use volunteers, it's essential that these volunteers have a good understanding of how security will work in a mission-driven organization. So even when you are using volunteers, I will still advise that you bring in a cybersecurity consultant. Now, when you bring in a cybersecurity consultant, ensure that that cybersecurity consultant is helping you to align your cybersecurity initiatives with your organization's mission, while also prioritizing what is called a resource smart approach. Now, what does this mean? When we are talking about a resource smart approach, for me, I love a risk based resource smart approach. What this means is that you are going to customize your strategies based on the specific risk that will affect your organization. Those risks that is facing your organization, while putting the resource constraints that you have in mind. In essence, look at your mission. Ensure that you are aligning your cybersecurity initiatives with your mission, while also prioritizing the risks that are at the topmost of your, I won't use the word of your list at this time. They are the risks that are the topmost of what is your organization is facing, but can impact or stop you from fulfilling your mission. Those are what you need to prioritize, because that is the only way you can still meet up with your objectives. Let me use that word. You can meet up with your objectives. Now, the third thing I want you to do is that you need to empower your people. One of the biggest problems that I have seen with a lot of organizations, especially the mission driven ones, is the fact that you are so focused on the fact that you are lacking resources and you have refused to be innovative. I need you to ensure that your staff members, your volunteers are consistently trained. There are a lot of times that these training programs may not necessarily be expensive ones. They can just be on cybersecurity best practices, but they are able to emphasize their role in safeguarding your mission. The goal is to be able to safeguard whatever your organization is doing, so that there are no lapses or whatever will stop you from being able to get your mission accomplished. Remember, I keep using the word mission because you are impact driven organizations. As impact driven organizations, you are working on a mission. You are working on a mission, and your only goal is to ensure that that mission is accomplished. Now, the first thing I want you to pay attention to is that I have also come to discover that a lot of mission driven organizations need to meet up with compliance regulations. I'm going to call the word regulatory aspects. But a lot of them fail to meet up with that, and they focus more on the privacy part. You're focusing more on keeping your safe um, donor, your card holders information. You're trying to keep it safer. You're trying to keep the data of your donors. You're trying to keep it safe because that's where the money is coming from. But you are also forgetting that there are some particular regulations that you need to keep in mind and keep in sight. I've used the word keep in mind and keep in sight, mainly because if you are able to adhere to these regulations, it's not just about the, I don't want you to just focus on the ones that are about the donor and the beneficiary data. No, but I want you to look at the ones that are actually able to boost transparency as well as trust. I want you to focus as well on the ones that are able to boost transparency and trust, because when you are integrating privacy into your compliance measures, you're not only focusing on one aspect, you are also looking at aspects that will ensure that you do not have to pay fines on the long run. Remember that if you are not adhering to the regulations, the probability that there is going to be a breach is there. But even when there is no breach and you are audited, you might end up paying a fine. And paying a fine can have dear consequences, because it puts you in a place where your donors as well as beneficiaries have a lack of trust in not just your organization, but also your mission. Now, the last thing I want you to do is leverage partnerships. I already mentioned this part initially because I want you to focus on using a cybersecurity consultant. I'm going to reiterate on that again. I'm going to reiterate on that again. One of the biggest challenges I have discovered with mission driven organizations is that we are so focused on believing that We don't have the available resources, and though you don't want to, and so you don't want to bring in the professionals. Whereas on the long run, you keep doing the wrong things, which at the end of the day causes bigger problems, where you could have actually brought in a professional that is going to be like your third eye to help you eliminate those places that may be lapses as well as loopholes, those places that you may be having challenges to. But the truth of the matter is, if you bring in the professionals, it's not only going to ensure that you don't have problems, it's also going to ensure that at the end of the day you are free from paying money or fines or repercussions that you should not have involved yourself in the first place. Now, I want us to look at what is called continuous improvement. One of the lessons I have learned is that there are so many organizations, after they have put in the assets in place, they have put in their objectives in place, they have put in their measures in place, they have put in the features in place, they don't continuously monitor it. At the end of the day, there may be a lapse or there may be another loophole that comes in play because there is no maintenance culture. I'm going to use that word, maintenance culture. You need to have what is referred to as a maintenance culture because you need to do what is called continuous improvement. What this means is that I need you to continuously look at it, make corrections, make improvements, regularly assess the risk, continuously adapt strategies so that your organization will meet up with the evolving threat landscape. As the threat landscape is evolving, as the risks are continuously coming up, your organization at the same time is meeting up with the demands of that landscape. Now, what I need you to do today, I always give us assignments, we know that. What I need you to do is that number one, I need you to start by identifying all the critical data systems as well as services that your organization is using. That's number one. Create a list. I think we already talked about that when we were talking about asset inventory. From my work as a consultant, one of the biggest problems, I'm not going to use the word a challenge right now because it is a problem, is an endemic that is seriously eating into the SMB space. A lot of SMBs do not have good asset inventory systems, which ends up becoming a challenge because if you don't know what you have in the first place, how do you know what you should be protecting? So I'm going to encourage you to identify what I need you to do this week. Identify your organization's most critical services, data, as well as systems. Then number two, after you have done that, I need you to do an assessment of your current cybersecurity posture. I know you may not be a professional, but I need you to cybersecurity professional. But it's also imperative. With some of the things that we have learned over time. We've been in this live stream programs and series for more than 2 or 3 weeks right now. So it is imperative that you do an assessment of what your current posture looks like. But you're not just looking at the posture. When I'm talking about posture, I want you to look at what your organization's features, what your organization's environment, your cybersecurity environment, what is it looking at like right now? But I don't just want you looking at it. I need you to pay attention to the risk that is mission centric. What that means is that you need to focus the risk on your mission, your missions, your objectives, your organization's objectives at this point in time. Which ones are very critical and which one can this risk be impacting or affecting, or it can stop you from being able to complete or fulfill your mission. Put that in mind. Now, the third thing I need you to do is now, when you have done that, I want you to prioritize just one or two cybersecurity improvements, two strategic improvements that you can do before the end of this year. Two that you can successfully complete before the end of this year. Those are the two I need you to put in place. Then encourage your team to take a cybersecurity awareness program or cybersecurity awareness session helping them to emphasize how the cybersecurity protects your shared purpose. And it's not just protecting your shared purpose, focus on the risks that you have observed within your organization's environment. Focus on those risks that you have observed within your organization's environment and see how you can eliminate them, how you can ensure that this risk do not stop you from completing, fulfilling your mission. I want you to know that for mission driven organizations, cybersecurity is much more than just protection. The truth is, it's much more than protection. It is a lifeline that guards your mission's promise, and at the same time, it guards the trust that people have placed not only in your organization but also in your mission. With every data that you are securing, you are empowering your team to focus not only on changing the world, but on ensuring that people know that you are resilient against the threats that can stop you from completing your mission. If you have any questions, it's very important that you send your questions in. I always tell you that every day. Every day we have this session. It's been an amazing time again on this session. Please send your questions in. I love answering your questions. This community is about supporting each other, not only to be able to get our cybersecurity initiatives implemented, but also to be a community that supports, a community that grows, a community that is not only evolving but also enabling your organizations to unlock new growth opportunities and make more money. Thank you so much again for joining me on today's session. Until I see you again by 11:30 a.m. on Thursday, 11:30 a.m. on Thursday, have a productive and amazing week.